G'day, it's Heath here from pickinglessons.com. Amazing Grace. We're going to take a look at a beautiful fingerstyle arrangement here in this lesson on the guitar. In a moment, we're going to take a look at the first half of the basic variation. There are two variations in this arrangement. If you head to pickinglessons.com, you better get yourself a copy of the tab that we're working from, which has both variations in it. You'll also find in the members section the next part of this lesson where we'll break down the remainder of the basic version and have a look at the more advanced version as well. So pickinglessons.com. Now let's start out with a slow play through the first half of this basic version of the melody. Then we'll have a bit of a talk about what we need to look at, some of the techniques you need to work on, the tuning and anything else that might be important. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Alright, so there's a slow play through of the first 8 measures of this basic arrangement. Now, this part of the arrangement sticks pretty close to the melody, is pretty straightforward to play, particularly if you've already played a bunch of fingerstyle tunes already. We're in the key of E, but our guitar is tuned to drop D tuning, so without the capo, string 6 tuned down to D, capo up to fret 2, then put this in the key of E, using our D shapes. We're in 3/4 time, so we're in waltz time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 chord note beats per measure. And our chord shapes that we're playing, you really want to hold on to them. So we want to let all our notes ring throughout as long as possible. Our right hand, the thumb plays the low notes. So in the music, you'll see in the notation there's a lower voice, and the lower voice has the note stems pointing down. And then the upper voice, our melody is played with the fingers, and that's with the stems pointing up. So keep an eye on that in the music, and that will give you a good guide of what your right hand needs to be doing. Now in terms of left hand position, it's all marked there in the tablature, but you do want to hold those chords. So let's have a look at these first 8 measures and just break down what we're doing here. Initially you want to hold this D chord shape. So first two measures there, we're working around the D shape. So hold that in there, get that pickup note, thumb drops down, still holding the D chord, open first string, but holding onto the remainder of the chord there. As a guide, that really is what you're going to do for the remainder of the tune. So left hand holding as long as possible onto the notes of the chord, taking fingers off as you need for melody, and as we change chords, obviously your fingers will change as well. By the way, I'm using a thumb pick, but you don't need to use a thumb pick. A regular thumb would be fine. Okay, so those first 2 measures again with the pickup. So 1, 2, 3, 1. At that point there, after we play that open string, we're going to move our hand into this G chord position. And in this tuning, the G position here, we've got our first finger on fret 3 there, third finger on fret 5, string 6, that's our G root note. Leaving that finger there as we move our first finger away to have the open second string. So the G bar, noticing that the thumb drops down for beat 2. So 1, 2, and 3, shifting back into a D position, but a different D chord shape. So we've got this D triad here, so just looking very quickly, our first finger there on the second finger there on the third, and third finger on the fourth fret of that 4th string. And so it's another way of playing a D chord. Let's, just before we move on, have a look at these first 4 measures slowly from the beginning. So D shape to start off. 1, 2. Transition to the G, thumb drops down, second type of D chord, all on quarter notes. As we move on to the next measure, measure 5, we're going to maintain that chord shape, and we get first finger shifting at the end of the measure. So we've come out of measure 4, kicking off measure 5, and shift the first finger at that point there. Like I mentioned, hold on to notes for as long as you can. So we're stacking our notes on top of each other, we're creating chords, even though we're not strumming a chord as such, we're creating chords as we pick our notes. Now, After that measure though, we need to quickly move our first finger into a bar. Here we have a B minor chord position, and so coming out of the D there, that second fret, first finger, shift to a bar position, covering that second fret on string 5, and then kind of hinge off that first finger there to catch the open string. Again, holding onto the notes for as long as you can until we have to transition to the next bar. So coming out of measure 5, measure 6, then measure 7. Now measure 7 here, our first finger is going to move up into the 5th fret position there. Our second finger will catch that 6th fret there on string 3, and then as we move through the 7th frets back into that 6th there. So measure 7, catching that 7th fret. Again, just notice that I'm holding my fingers there, letting those notes overlap. Really important. So 5 into the 6, there's a 6th interval, and up into that 7th fret there, holding those notes. So at this point, let's play through from measures 5 to 8, just slowly. 2, 3, 1. Notice just very quickly when we hit the 7th and then back to that 6 and 5 position there, you can drop your thumb down and play that with the finger. That works really nicely there. Notice again in the music, the lower voice stem is pointing down, indicating that that's the thumb to be playing that note. Okay, so let's just finish off with a slow play through these first 8 measures, just to get us going, get a feel of it. Once you can do this, you'll find the second half of this part of the arrangement is pretty accessible. You'll be fine to have a look at that. So the first 8 measures here with the pickup note. 1, 2, 3, 1. Hold on to your notes. G position. Hold these notes as we stack them. Bar position. Nice and slow, don't play it too fast. It's a slow tune. You can play it slower than I played in the beginning of this video. You could afford to play it slightly quicker too. More often than not, it's quite slow though. It works nicely with this fingerstyle arrangement around where I played it, I thought, but again, up to you, have an experiment there. Okay, so jump over to pickinglessons.com. We will continue working on in the member section. The next part of this lesson will break down the second half of this basic arrangement. Then we'll jump into the more advanced arrangement. Now, it's not overly hard. It's probably about an intermediate level, but more advanced than this basic version. More embellishment. We're a little bit busy with some of the notes we're playing through there, but again, still nice and slow and not overly hard, just a bit more challenging. All right, so pickinglessons.com. I'll see you there.